Welcome to the Nikki and Ryan experiment. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Ryan.
Oh, what's up, everybody? We have an amazing guest tonight, Marcus Flowers.
Yes.
How you doing, Marcus?
Hey, guys. I'm great. How's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing good, man.
Doing great. I'm doing very good. We are so honored to have you on our show, Marcus. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you. And how is the campaign going?
Well, the campaign's going good. You know, we're keeping things slim right now and just trying to raise money, get the message out to people. But it's been going great. I'm truly humbled by the amount of support that we're getting from people all over the country, and from the armed forces, Europe and Africa. It's overwhelming, the amount of support we're getting in the messages, and been getting a lot of mail, reading letters from young people, 14 years old, telling me that they appreciate what I'm doing and they're happy to see that someone's standing up to Marjorie Taylor Greene and QAnon.
Yes.
So I'm really humbled by the support we're receiving right now. It's truly great.
Well,
excellent.
and like everybody else, I just wanted to say personally, thank you from me for standing up and running against her, being a strong candidate and everything, running against her. That's something that we all needed to see. Like you said, I really feel like your race is one of the few that needs to have national attention right now.
It's certainly getting it, because she's getting a lot of national attention from all the antics and the wild things that she's saying out in public. So, I'd love for this to just be a local race, but it doesn't appear it's going to be.
It's not.
No, unfortunately.
Definitely not. She is so well known for, and not in a good way. Which helps you get your message out as well. So there's always a silver lining, right? So you were in the military. Thank you for your service, by the way. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to serve. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about your military experience. What inspired you to join the military?
Oh, wow. That goes back to when I was a kid, probably 6, maybe 7 years old. An uncle of mine was in the military. He's a retired sergeant major now. Saw him come home once in his uniform. And I was talking to my cousin about him, and he was telling me all the cool things that he did while he was in the military. And I just saw him in his uniform, and I said, that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
Stuck. Never wanted to do anything else. Well, maybe the Air Force. Right around the time when Top Gun came out, I wanted to fly.
There you go. There you go.
Then I decided against that part. So let's go in the Army. That's really all I wanted to do. Air Force, I'm not Air Force ROTC, but Army ROTC in high school is just what I wanted to do. And that's what I did. That was my dream. Get out in the Army, serve the country, go see the world, things like that.
That's pretty rare that a child knows what they want to do at such a young age.
Yeah, it was, I guess. It was just something I saw. I admired my uncle and said, hey,
you made the right call, man. The Army's where the big boys go.
One team, one mission again. We'll see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right.
Some Marines who might disagree with you, but hey.
Yeah.
Right. So what profound experiences did you encounter while being in the military that's going to serve you well in Congress?
Oh, the military. In the military, you work as a team, and you work within a system. I think that's learning how to work within that system with different people, with different opinions. You understand that people come from different places, and you listen to their input. They listen to yours. That I think will help in Congress. Being able to work with anybody, because you've worked with everybody, is one of the things that I always tell people. I've worked with people all over the world, and militaries across the world, from our, mission partners in the UK, Italy, Germany, France, Poland. I've worked with the guys in the Balkans, our Iraqi counterparts and Afghan counterparts. So, like I said, I've literally worked with everyone, so I know I can work with anyone. And that's one of the things that being in the military, working within a system, will help you be able to accomplish, or help me in Congress, I think.
Absolutely. So you continued your career with the government, correct?
I did.
And what capacity?
Well, when I left the military, I went directly into defense contracting with the Department of Defense. So I my background is logistics and compliance. In the Army, I was what we call a 92 Yankee, or a unit supply specialist. Logistics, life cycle logistics is
You
what
and my wife did the exact same thing in the military.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
Really?
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's
life cycle
what
logistics.
Jen did. Yeah.
And with that, I learned compliance, and it was more of a compliance function outside of the military that I performed, overseeing, making sure that, pouring over doctrine, pouring over regulations, making sure that contractors were, doing the job on time, at costs, and, saving taxpayer dollars is what I used to do, and recouping taxpayer dollars when we turn in things and, get back money from contractors. That was oversight and compliance is what I did. So basically a glorified auditor for the most part.
But man, does that set you up for Congress and for public service? Because guys, I'm telling you, in the military, going from everything to learning about hazmat, how we dispose of that, how we turn everything in. Guys, this is the type of person we need in office. He understands how it works, and he'll be able to apply that to a much bigger scheme. Yeah, man, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It was a nice career, 27 years doing that. And I was also a Department of Defense official. That was most recently. Left contracting and went into the government as a government official, and continued to perform the compliance function that I'd been doing as a contractor.
Is that what you're currently doing now?
Well, currently,
I
had to leave. We have what's called the Hatch Act. So
right.
Like me, I can't
conflict of interest.
Can't run for office. It's a conflict of interest.
So you
I had
are
to leave government service.
So you are totally invested. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't get any more invested than that.
That's right. Oh man.
So I told you before we got on the show that we had a lot of similarities, and we have another one too. And it goes into this next question. Have you ever voted for a Republican candidate? And if so, what changed?
I've voted for Republicans before at the local level. And I can't remember if I voted for Bush the first time or not. It was a long time ago, but I've voted for Republicans before. I've always considered myself, and you come from that military background, as nonpartisan.
Yep.
Whoever the president was,
that's who you serve.
You're chief. That's who I serve. I served as a part of that function. He was at the top of the food chain, and I was somewhere way down at the bottom. I was always going to serve the commander in chief at the pleasure.
And you don't always like it, but you're still going to do it.
Like I said, that Hatch Act thing. I never discussed politics at work. Kind of like an unsung rule.
Yeah,
we just didn't get into it. We followed the orders. We made things happen. Made the mission, did the work for the American people. You always respect the office. But I've voted for Republicans in my local area, and these are some of the people that I know personally that I've voted for. So I've voted across party lines.
The last one,
for me personally, even though I've always considered myself throughout my career as nonpartisan, I lean a little bit more to the left than anything. I consider myself a Democrat. So that's right.
I feel as though the Republican Party is pulling away from the center much more so than it ever was, which
we got to pull it back.
I totally agree.
I think that's where the work gets done. It gets done in the middle. I mean, you can't negotiate with someone if you're standing on opposite sides of a stadium. Come down to the 40-yard line and start the conversation there. And then maybe we can meet at the 50.
Yep. And that's going to go into some of the other stuff, man. But I think that's the key is finding that middle ground.
Right. And, being in the military, having been in the military, Ryan, a successful compromise is walking away from the table with some of what you want and leaving some of what you wanted there.
And that's exactly right. And that's and that should be the way politics is moving forward.
It should be.
You're never going to get everything you want coming to the table. It's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be a compromise, and it goes back to something I have right in front of my computer. Reaching an agreement is more important than winning. That's,
His wife put that there. Just kidding.
Never let the perfect be the enemy of the good. That's one of the
things I like that.
I always heard. It's not going to be perfect every time. No mission goes according to plan ever. So have backup plans and be willing to, adjust.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so some of the things that you advocate on: women's rights, women's right to choose, healthcare, the environment, the social justice issues, education reform, veterans issues, support for the military, and voting rights. What's your stance on police reform?
Well, and that's an interesting question that, the way I look at it, the military has civilian oversight. I think with police reform, there needs to be a little bit more civilian oversight in police reform. They need to look at best practices. Having been a compliance guy, we deal with things called voluntary consensus standards, which means the best practices, we put those in place, like body cams. We found out that that's a best practice that everyone should have now that we've seen, how they help the public see what's going on within the police force, and it helps the police as well with accountability and things of that nature. So I think a little bit more. I'm definitely for the Justice and Policing Act, the George Floyd Police Reform Act. So I think there should be a little bit more oversight there, and I think the police should work a little bit more with the communities that they serve. Not everything, requires a stick. There's some carrots, and working with the community, you can get to a better place with police. And not all police departments are built equally. You have cities and rural police departments that operate much differently. But I think there's a way we can get to some voluntary consensus standards, best practices in policing that I think will help.
And what about? Go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a question onto that. Is how do you think mental health plays a part in that movie?
That's definitely one of those. That's definitely one of those areas where I say not everything requires a stick. We've all seen videos of police handling people who are obviously having, a mental health crisis and issues, things that I've dealt with in my own family. And, you have to be able to deal with that, or have the understanding of how to deal with that. And not all police officers are equipped for that type of mission, so to speak. Or that type of emergency. So we definitely need to look at getting mental health officials or employees in the police department and go out and answer some of those calls and being able to identify them early. That's important, because I guess a lot of times police officers will get there and not really understand what they're dealing with. And things are horribly wrong.
Yes. Absolutely. There needs to be funds, in my opinion, allocated to different areas within the community instead of sending a police officer. Like having, like you said, mental health people come in and take over without having to call, or have a
police. That would be
to have that trained within the police.
Yes, that's also an option, I think.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And we had talked about that on the show, I think last month, where if we have that set up, and I think this goes back to what you were saying, Marcus, is you have all those mental health professionals. They're not going to be out. They're not going to be out on calls 24/7 all the time. They're going to have time back at the precinct, and that time they could be helping, the actual officers in the building, like discover if they have anything that they need to work on. Like we need to make that normal.
And maybe getting more training for police officers and how to identify that, because let's think about it. If a 911 operator gets a call, is that operator going to be able to identify this as a mental health emergency?
That's a really good point.
So, it's one of those things. And you remember in the Army, there's always continuous training, and also in government as well. Continuous learning, and we learn on things like this all the time. Police officers, I think there should be some budget at the federal level to address that.
I like that.
The training that they need. So I'm definitely against defunding the police. I think we need to fund them in ways that will help them identify crises like that. Crises like that. So
excellent.
And I come from a family of law enforcement officers. My granddaddy was a sheriff. That's kind of where I get the hat from. He's also a farmer. A sheriff. That was one of the things that I admired and respected about him were the cowboy hats and the sheriff hats. So, I know he's wearing police officers as well. So I respect police officers immensely, and I want to see, the majority of cops are good, in my opinion.
I absolutely.
And bad apples, and we have to root those out and take care of that on a case by case basis, I would say.
And I think I just want to add on. I think we all need to be a little more understanding that in the heat of the moment, when we're all watching this go down, we're not all thinking straight. We're all watching what we're seeing, and we're upset, but we need to get better at taking a step back and just being, I think, more realistic with what our expectations are for law enforcement moving forward. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, there is
definitely a lot of work to do with police officers in the Black community. I mean, we do understand that there is implicit bias, so we have to address that. There needs to be more training on that across police forces.
Agreed.
Across the country. I think that's it's the same type of training we do in the military and in government as well. So
excellent. Very good. Okay, so you are in primarily a red district. I think in the 2020 election, 70% went for Trump, I believe, in your district, roughly. So with that being said, how do you feel about gun control, gun reform, like what's going on in our communities and our country right now with mass shootings and people crying out for gun control?
Well, I support the Second Amendment. I'm a responsible gun owner. Most gun owners are responsible gun owners. And I think high 70 or 80% of the people agree with gun reform, background checks, violent history checks. But my opponent, Marjorie Taylor Greene, thinks that everyone should have a gun in their hands, even domestic abusers, people on the terror watch list. That's just unacceptable. We can't have that conversation, even though it's something that most people agree on. I've held clearances in my life and I've passed countless background checks. I don't think many responsible gun owners are worried about background checks. So I think that's something that most Americans agree on. It's time that we get it done.
Yes.
How do you feel about the 18 ban, like the support to ban the AR-15 style weapons?
Having used weapons of war, knowing a lot about all types of weapon systems, I think certain weapons shouldn't be on our streets. Hunting rifles, I'm a hunter. I have hunting rifles. Mm-hmm. It's not really an effective argument to say that it's good for hunting. Those are weapons of war, in my opinion. So
I agree.
This veteran agrees with you. Mm-hmm. I say that a lot.
Even though they don't act the exact same way as an M4 does in the military, it's still we understand it's not a hunting rifle. It's not used for that. Going out shooting paper targets, hey, I'm great with that. So, but they've been used to hurt a lot of people and kill a lot of people. So we definitely need some reform. It's time for it in this country. I think most people agree with that.
I would agree. Absolutely. So you, again, in a red district, how, what are your constituents saying, the Republican, because I know that you're probably pretty tight, especially you were saying that you have friends that are Republicans and, you work with Republicans. How are you going to navigate the waters of being in a red district when it's time for election?
To a person, I talk to people throughout the district. And one of the things that I tell people is I'm not talking to people because I'm running. I'm running because I've been talking to people. Republicans and Democrats alike. To a person, they're embarrassed by our representative in Congress right now. And I don't think it's a hard sell, to be honest with you. See me, the contrast couldn't be any starker between Marjorie Taylor Greene and myself. And then what I explain to people is, I will work for you. I'll be a servant leader, not going to Washington to increase my brand or to, manufacture grievances and culture wars and things of that nature. I'm going there to support you, to talk about the kitchen table issues with Democrats and Republicans alike, reaching across the aisle and getting the work done of the American people, of the people of Georgia, of the people of District 14. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. They want to feel heard. And I want to make sure that they're heard. I want to bring them closer to their government.
And represented on what their needs are and not what just
That's what representatives' jobs are supposed to be.
Exactly.
To represent their constituents.
It's right in the name.
Congresswoman Greene is not doing that.
No, she is not.
I wouldn't go there. Like I said, again, I wouldn't go there to increase my brand or be famous. You've never heard of Marcus Flowers before now. I kept my head down and did the work. I will keep my head down in Congress and do the work for the American people.
Which is, you're doing the work. You don't have time to be out in the media making, horrible statements.
Yeah, but I think too, what we're hearing is we're hearing the difference between a public servant and somebody who built their entire platform on a whatever you call it,
grievances.
Yeah, manufactured grievances, stunt. Following around David Hogg. Following people around. Yeah, it's just, she's a horrible person on top of everything else, and that's
unfortunate. We've seen all of the antics, and people have grown tired of it, I think.
Yep. So, nationwide, not just in Georgia, nationwide. Like, we see the importance of this of this race from afar.
Yep. I mean, Ryan's in Arizona. I'm in North Carolina. I have many people that have reached out to me about you, and they're like, what can we do to help? Because you are very quickly becoming our hope, if you will, for Georgia.
Absolutely.
Because she needs to go. She's dangerous, in my opinion.
That.
So,
the thing with me, and one of the things that I like to say about power is it's only important as a tool to help the powerless. Right now, I know a lot of people are powerless. So I'll be a servant leader and nothing else. That's what I've always been, actually.
Yeah. Excellent. So I know something that's really close to your heart was the January 6th insurrection, just like it was to most of the United States and the world. And it really, they were looking to us for example, and this is what they're seeing. It terrified them as well. Right. So clips and body cam footage of the January 6th insurrection have been regularly released to the public. Many people have been arrested in connection to the January 6th insurrection. However, no one in the political arena has been indicted yet. What are your feelings on that?
That's a good, interesting question. I'll say that. I personally feel that there are representatives and senators who helped incite the riot on January 6th. Now, we all watched the president and, people like Rudy Giuliani at the rally prior to prior to the Capitol being stormed, ginning up the crowd and saying, walk over to the Capitol. I'm going to walk over there with you. Or let's have trial by combat. Let's go take our country back. Marjorie Taylor Greene, even the day before, was talking about meeting everyone at the Capitol and taking our country back. The day before, I wasn't really thinking much about it. I figured, okay, this is going to be, the electors have made their decision. This is going to be routine, and the election will be certified in Congress. Didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
I watched in horror, as I'm sure many people did, as police officers were being beaten with flag posts, sprayed with mace and bear spray, watching a Confederate battle flag paraded through the Capitol Rotunda. That was, still to this day, I kind of.
I mean, is that an image? Is that an image you thought that we would ever see? Like modern?
Never thought I would see something like that. Never thought it would happen in my lifetime. And the actions of those Congress people, in my opinion, and I have to say, in my opinion, I'm no legal scholar or a lawyer even, but in my opinion, that's sedition, supporting those acts. So I'm looking forward to a January 6th commission being formed and there being a thorough investigation. I would love to see that. I know many Americans would love to see that. And I understand why the right's pushing back so hard against that, because it kind of defeats their narrative of it was a normal tourist visit and things of that nature.
Or it was Antifa and BLM.
It's just ridiculousness. So as we see more indictments and sentences start getting passed down for the insurrectionists, that's what I'm going to call them. Weren't tourists. They weren't people voicing their political displeasure with the system. It was insurrection.
Yep.
Do you think this played a part
in supported it or seditionists, in my opinion?
Yep,
And
I
I know
agree.
that's a strong statement, but it's the way I feel. It's why I'm in this thing in the first
That's
place.
what I was going to ask you.
On
Was
that
that
day, after seeing that, it became mission critical to me that I had to do something. I couldn't sit back and be silent anymore, be that nonpartisan person. I had to get involved. I called my supervisor the next day and said, I'm resigning my post as a government official and I'm going to run for Congress. So that's how much.
So that answered my question. I was going to say, was that the spark that, you had to run against her?
The spark probably started on May 25th of last year when George Floyd was murdered. That's when something started stirring in me, and I started thinking about, political activism. Seeing how I could get involved. I started making my first political contributions after watching riots and protests throughout the summer. And after John Lewis dying and hearing his final message, when you hear that highest calling of your heart, answer the call, stand up, do something. And these kind of things just worked on me all summer long. And I was talking to people, got on social media for the first time in June and started talking to people on Twitter and, getting people's opinions, giving my opinions, just seeing what people thought in general. I started talking to people more, started trying to help out political campaigns. That's where the spark started. January 6th was, much more than a spark for me.
That was the shove.
Yeah, that was the all-in moment.
That was it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny you said that, Marcus. Ryan and I have talked often about George Floyd and how, for me, his murder is what got me going on social media politically. And so many of the people that I know, the big creators and people that advocate, it's the same story. He changed so many lives and opened so many people's eyes.
Right.
It was very profound for me as well. So
yeah, I mean, we're so polarized right now, and there's so much misinformation and disinformation out there. People don't know what to believe.
Yep.
So we've got to get to a place where your representatives aren't trying to stir your wildest emotions, like Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing with these, this culture war grievance thing. It's got to stop. We have to get to a place where we agree on facts, and we agree what facts are, and that we can talk about things and discuss. There's too much bitter partisanship, hot rhetoric, and our body politic right now. We just have to get back to a level playing ground, in my opinion. And that's what I want to do. Yeah. Just talk to people, meet them where they are if I must, which is what I do most of the time, and go from there.
Yeah, it does. It seems as though the Republicans are still holding our country hostage and keeping us in gridlock, more so out of spite than anything, in my opinion.
Well, that's about power. That's about trying to, maintain power in the minority. I mean, we're a majority rule country, but yet you see time and time again, one party trying to maintain power in the minority and doing everything they can to be just a party of no.
Yes.
That's not moving the country forward. And that's what a lot of people are frustrated about. They're frustrated with the stagnation that we're seeing in government nowadays. They want things to get done.
Yes.
Let's give it to them.
Absolutely.
So you kind of touched on this, but I'm going to ask you straight out anyway. Okay. Do you think that Marjorie Taylor Greene had a hand in January 6th?
I think she played a role. We have to be careful with the wording.
Yeah. Here. Okay. That's fair.
Inciting people to come out to the Capitol. Now, as far as I've heard rumors about, her and Representative Boebert giving tours the day before. I don't know these things to be true, which is why I want to see a January 6th commission formed and thorough investigation. And that shouldn't be a partisan thing.
No,
we should all want to get to the bottom of what happened on January 6th.
That's true patriotism.
Yes. Why
country
wouldn't
over Q? That's one of the things that we say.
Yes. Yes. I mean, you would think, if this had happened from any outside country, everybody would be like, we need to get down to the nitty gritty and the bottom of it. But it happened within our country, within the ranks, in my opinion, within the government, and they're trying to sweep it under the rug and say, it wasn't that big of a deal. And it infuriates
me. Narrative. It doesn't fit in their narrative.
Nope.
That's unacceptable. Full stop.
Yep.
Full stop.
I agree.
I absolutely agree as well. So, oh yeah, you already asked that one. Okay. So it seemed as though after the January 6th insurrection, she was kind of saying all these crazy things, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Greene. And it seemed as though she got really kind of slapped on the wrist by McCarthy and by McConnell. And it seemed as though for a moment there, they were going to be pulling away from her. And because they were disgusted with the things that they were saying, now it seems like all of these Republicans are starting to rally behind her again. Why? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the only logical explanation is that they're afraid of Trump. Full
His
stop.
Voters.
And she's on Team Trump 100%. So, you heard their true feelings right after January 6th, or even on January 6th, with the way Lindsey Graham came out and said, hey, that's enough, I'm out. That's how he truly felt. McConnell made statements in the beginning after January 6th. That's how they truly felt. But then they saw the pushback from some of the far right groups, and they felt that it was affecting the base, and Trump was pushing back on it as well. So that's beyond me, my comprehension. Why?
Right?
You can't just speak the truth and tell people in plain English, hey, we're not for this. We're not backing this. Some of them said it in the beginning, but they're feeling the political backlash. We all saw that Lindsey Graham went to his district and was, I guess, taunted in the airport by a bunch of his supporters. And then he immediately changed course. So I think they're operating from a place of fear. And once you start doing that, it's a slippery slope.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'm sure we all know about the tweet that Marjorie Taylor Greene put out about the Holocaust. Let's go ahead and take a look. Vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo, just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star. I was shocked. I mean, I was shocked to hear that from anybody. Her, maybe not so much. But what were your feelings when you saw her compare the Holocaust to wearing a mask?
It was absolutely outrageous. Totally inappropriate. As a young soldier, when I first got to Europe, I was stationed close to Dachau. One of the things that my commander at that time wanted us all to do was to go visit Dachau and see the Holocaust Museum there. And Dachau wasn't necessarily an extermination camp, but it was a concentration camp where people were killed. They had the showers there. They had the ovens there. I only went to Dachau once. After touring that museum and seeing that, I didn't want to go back again. And I lived in Europe for many, many years. And after seeing it that one time, I never went back. Now, I'd studied the Holocaust in high school, a little bit in college. We all know what happened there, and we accept it to be true. 6 million Jews and others were killed. Or to make that senseless comparison of masks and people being murdered, it was outrageous. And she truly doesn't represent anyone here in this district, I feel. People understand that we want better from our representatives, and you can't say anything like that and just disparage a large group of people. So
Yep. And it's funny you say that. She got a lot of pushback from a lot of people, even, amongst her own party. So then she made a statement. Now, I've taken a small clip of her apology statement for one reason. I want you to listen to the very last part where you'll hear it. Let's go ahead and take a look.
This afternoon, I visited the Holocaust Museum. The Holocaust there's nothing comparable to it. It happened, and over 6 million Jewish people were murdered. More than that, there were not just Jewish people, black people, Christians, all kinds of people, children, people that the Nazis didn't believe were good enough.
Right there.
Good enough.
The Nazis didn't think they were good enough. And to me, what do you hear when you hear that statement coming from her?
She totally doesn't get it. And there's no remorse there, in my opinion. One of the things I heard, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time.
Ryan always says that.
she's shown us who she is. Had nothing to do with not being good enough. Because they hated Jewish people and they wanted to kill them.
Yep.
Just murder. I mean, that's
plain and simple.
Yep. And so
she made another statement. In that statement was, some people didn't believe it even happened. Didn't believe that it even happened. Why even make that qualification?
Yeah.
Yep. Just own it and walk and let it be. But no, you
made a mistake. And it wasn't a mistake. She did it intentionally, I believe.
She did do it intentionally.
I agree with you.
No, it was the wow factor that she likes. Right. She's taking books out of she's taking pages out of Trump's book. So when I heard that statement, I immediately thought, so it was where is it? Who the Nazis believed weren't good enough. When I hear that, knowing the close ties and the friends that she has within the white supremacist community, her saying that, and this is just my opinion, sounds so very hypocritical, because that's how her friends and people that follow her feel about anybody that's not white.
Yeah. It's not good enough. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. So when I heard that, I was like, yeah.
I can just
Marcus has to watch this over and over and answer for it over and over.
It's exhausting, yes, but
I know it is, man.
What we signed up for.
Yeah.
You have to do the hard thing doesn't mean.
Well, I was trying to put some questions together. Maybe you haven't heard yet.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
We wanted to touch on Marjorie Taylor Greene being a bully, but we had a question sent in that I want to attach to this, which is Bernard Marquez asked how you plan to fight bullying, not just online, but probably in general. And with that, I wanted to lead into, we all know that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bully, clearly, just like you pretty much stated. Mm-hmm. She's on more than one occasion followed politicians around like AOC, as well as following David Hogg outside of Congress to intimidate him. Mm-hmm. So why do you think that she does this? And do you think that there will be anything that you can do if you're elected to prevent this in the future?
Well, here's one of the things that I've always, bullies have been my special project for a long time. I used to get bullied as a small kid at one point in time when I was really small, 6, 7, 8 years old. But then I started becoming bigger than everyone else. So I learned at an early age to push back on that. I grew up in poverty. I dealt with bullies. Kids would pick on me. And then when I started to, fight back, I was getting bigger than a lot of them, but you have to stand up to them. You have to push back on them. And then I was always the guy who protected all of my friends from bullies. I just couldn't tolerate it. And so that's always been who I am, pushing back on bullies, confronting them. Generally, they'll back down. As you guys probably saw the fact that I went to one of their rallies and I was seen as a threat. So the bully who chased Congresswoman Cortez all over the halls of the Capitol can't sit in the same room with me because I'm the threat. Okay.
Yep. We actually have that clip.
Really are. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to go ahead and show that clip to everyone. The clip that Marcus is referring to. Let's take a look.
I'm asking you to leave because the party of Marjorie Greene recognizes you. Party? What do you mean party? What do you mean? What do I mean? Her party? Like, we recognize you as somebody that will cause problems here potentially? Potentially. So my job is to assess a threat.
I'm getting my protect.
See if this guy's a threat.
And I get it. You're a security guy. 1, 2. That's your job to assess threats.
My job is to assess
I'm
threats.
telling you right now, I'm not a threat.
Yeah.
What happened after that whole? Did you just get kicked out and you left?
Well, yes, I got kicked out. It was quote unquote a private event. They were renting a public space. It was a private event, but we had tickets to it. We had observations. We did have tickets.
Oh,
so we had, that was one of the things.
So you didn't just crash. You actually
crashed the party.
You actually got the tickets and everything.
Tickets. We were going to go there. We're going to listen. I wanted to put eyes on this America First nonsense. See and hear it for myself. And if given the opportunity, I would have liked to talk to Congresswoman Greene. I wasn't going to interrupt the speeches or anything, but I would have liked to have talked to her and told her, look, we need you to get to work. We need you to stop all of the manufactured grievances, stop all of the manufacturing of scandals, get over this culture war stuff, get to work for the American people. And if you can't do that, we're going to need you to resign.
Yeah.
That was
I
what I was there to ask her. But, the security guard, the police were there. So they didn't have to call the police. They were in the building.
Already there.
And went over, talked to the police officers there, had a cordial conversation with them. And, I just walked outside and started talking to her supporters. Had great conversations with her supporters. And, a lot of people recognized me already. So that was interesting. I didn't expect that. But figured it out as the cameras converged on me. This guy's, that's right, it's Marcus. Okay, so let's go talk to him. People wanted to talk about education. People wanted to talk about gun control. People wanted to talk about abortion. People wanted to talk about all kinds of things. So I spoke with several of her people, and people were like, "Are you a Democrat?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a Democrat. We're not all socialists." And they were actually surprised. Just talking to them where they were, telling them the things that we want. And that's one of the things. And these were her supporters, people there to see her.
Yeah.
So I met them where they were.
Smart.
Civil conversations with them.
Do you think you'll attend another one?
Well, let's see if she has more. We'll see what happens.
And the America First. Gosh, and she's touring, I think, with Matt Gaetz, and
that's ridiculous.
That's gonna crash and burn soon anyway. Combo. So
I think what bothered me the most out of that is that while you are running against her, you're still a constituent.
That's it. I am.
Yes.
like it should not be that hard for you to get a sit down with her as a constituent.
Should be able to speak to your representative as a constituent. But stay tuned, guys. There's more in store. So we'll see. Maybe we'll catch up with her at a town.
So is it true before we move on that you got ratted out by a dude selling merch?
Yeah.
We saw that in the New Yorker.
He was the first person that recognized me. He wanted to come and take pictures with me. Let me take pictures with you. I was like, okay, come on. He's like, do you want to buy a shirt? I was like, no, I don't want to support her campaign. I'm running a campaign myself. But yeah, he worked for her, and he called her people, which they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we can't have this guy here. So yeah, I was probably in the building 7 or 8 minutes before.
That's it?
Yeah,
wow.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh, that dude was big around. Too. He was a big guy.
He was thick. He was a little thick.
Well, because you're a big guy, and he was like.
Well, I'm 6'2", I'm a little bit shorter than I used to be, and he's probably 6'6". I weigh about 210. He's probably about 280. So he's a big boy.
Wow.
Former wrestler. Yeah, we looked him up.
He did seem nervous though. I mean, he wasn't awful to you or anything, but he seemed a little nervous.
He was cordial, and he was delivering a message.
Yeah, right.
Her people were standing there. They were kind of following me the entire time I was there. I noticed them, whether they noticed that I'd noticed them or not. And that was a longer exchange that he and I had. And as he was telling me what they wanted him to do, I'm looking at them and saying, well, I want to speak to the people that asked you to do this. So
were you able to speak with them?
No, they didn't want to talk to me.
They were.
I spoke to one of my consultants, and they, had a conversation there. But
what are you guys so afraid of?
I know. She has a loud mouth when she's chasing after people, but won't talk to you.
Apparently, Congresswoman Greene thinks that she only represents a certain part of the constituency.
That sounds familiar. Mm-hmm.
And what are you going to do, Marcus?
What I'll do, I will represent everyone in the district, whether I agree with their opinions or not. I will always listen to them.
Perfect. Excellent. So let's, in saying that, let's talk about Georgia and the widespread voter suppression bills. That was being passed across the country, and kind of the example was Georgia. Unfortunately,
Georgia was the proving ground.
Yes, right. But now they are. I mean, okay. So that before I lead into another question, how, if elected, how are you going to overcome that situation? Are you going to really push for the America or the For the People Act?
Yeah, of course. We need to get that passed immediately before the next election cycle.
At a federal level, right?
At the federal level. I mean,
so it encompasses all states.
We need to end partisan gerrymandering. We need to protect people's rights to vote. I mean, but if those bills aren't passed before then, we're going to push back as hard as we can. We're going to make sure we get people to the polls. We're going to make sure that people are registered. It's one of those things that every year or every election cycle in Georgia, you have to find out if you're still registered to vote or not. So
they're purging votes. Raffensperger is purging, I think, 102,000 voters, not votes, voters.
Every time.
And what is your plan to get the message out to your constituents that they need to double check to make sure that they are still registered?
One of the things I tell people is we're going to make an investment in this district that Democrats haven't been able to make in ever, actually. So like I told you, we're raising money from all over the country that's going to help us make that investment in the district, get the word out to the people, make sure that they're registered to vote, help get them out to the polls. We're going to do everything we can to push back and at least nullify these crazy voter suppression laws that are popping up all over the country. There's a movement here in Georgia, and it got started with Lisa McBath. Stacey Abrams continued it, and I'm just going to be the next person in line that takes up that mantle along with them, Latasha Brown, all of them. So we're going to be working. We've got some other things planned that I don't want to tell you about right now. It's just kind of a wait and see type thing. So
that just means you have to come back.
You have to come back. You have to come back, Marcus.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, last question before we get to our audience, and that is a message to our audience. You guys start putting together your questions in the comments section. Okay, so the people in your district, why should they vote for you?
Well, I mean, we've touched on it in the conversation. I will be a servant leader. I will serve them. I will not go to Congress to improve my brand. I won't go to Congress with antics. I'm willing to work with anybody. I can work with anybody because I have worked with everybody. And I will serve you. I will get the work done for the American people. I'm willing to reach across the aisle. Like I said, I've sat across the table from Iraqi and Afghan warlords. So sitting across the table from Republicans and working with my Democratic colleagues should prove to be a lot less stressful by comparison. I'm going there to serve the people of Georgia. Full stop.
Love it.
Excellent.
And,
Excellent.
And before we get on to the question, I wanted to add one more thing.
Sure.
I really, from the outside looking in, I really appreciate that you don't go hard at Marjorie Taylor Greene and all her ridiculousness. Like you don't swing at the low lane or low swinging flute. Wow.
I got you.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
I know what you mean.
But I appreciate that because you could easily do that and make that a solid cornerstone of your campaign, and you're not. You're keeping it about what's good for Georgia, about your public service, what you're going to do, and that's what we need. We need somebody that's not interested in the in all the other stuff, and they're going to be like, look, this is what I'm going to do for you. Let's stop paying attention to her. Let's stop giving her the microphone. Let's get back to what Georgia needs, and I think that's awesome.
I believe in civility. I believe in restoring decency back to Congress. We've got to tamp down this white hot rhetoric in our body politic now. Full stop. It's too much. You know,
I agree.
Just because someone disagrees with you politically does not make them your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Marjorie Taylor Greene's not my enemy. You know, she has every right to go out and say dumb things like, you know, Jewish space lasers started the wildfires in California.
Mm-hmm.
She has every right to say that.
Yep.
But we know that those are lies. And we know that lies like that create distance. They create mistrust. You just have to stop doing that.
Well, there are consequences to the things that come out of your mouth. So,
Exactly.
Okay, so Empathy Tour Integrity Act, who is David Clayton Reddy, he's been on my our show as well. He has a question. Boeing and Lockheed Martin have been supporting voter suppression bills. How do you fight those bills but work with military contractors?
You know, one of the things that, you know, having been a military contractor, you know, I think that people think that military or defense contractors or Department of State contractors all do the same things. They think guns, tanks, bombs, you know, airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Defense contractors can do things like cook meals, clean, you know, barracks or clean offices, mow lawns. You know, I don't support voter suppression bills. I think the majority of us don't as well. And I think the majority of the employees for companies like Lockheed and Boeing don't support voter suppression bills. You have both those companies here in Georgia. And I know a lot of the people who work for those companies, and they are definitely against voter suppression bills. So I think we can push back on the bills. And, you know, once again, I don't take corporate PAC money. This is a grassroots effort. I take money from the people to help fund this campaign, and we appreciate that. But I think we need to get back to a place of understanding that, you know, not all defense contractors, you know, make weapons of war.
Yeah.
People who work for those defense contractors like you and I. So.
Yeah, I think there's a stigma attached to the, you know, private contractor name. Yeah. So, okay. So Bernard has another question. This is a great question. What would you bring to the table for the LGBTQ plus community?
I would be a strong ally. I'd be a strong ally because I'm the father of an LGBTQ child and uncle as well. So
Excellent.
LGBTQ plus rights are human rights as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, sir.
Stop. There's, you know, I see no difference there. That's strong ally. I don't really know what else to say.
No, man. That the part you said that LGBTQ rights are human rights. That's all you need to say. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Okay. Would you debate Greene if she called on you to debate?
Absolutely. I don't think she would call.
You're waiting, right? You're like, come on.
I don't think she would call on me for a debate, but
no,
definitely.
I don't think she wants that.
Have you reached out to her to debate?
Have I reached out to her to debate? No, I haven't.
I don't think she wants that smoke, personally.
Well,
but.
She want
to remain tight-lipped on that right now.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. We have, yes. Okay. I'll be tight-lipped as well.
I know, we gotta.
All right. Any last minute questions? And guys, what? Oh, you've got one?
Has Vote Vets endorsed you yet, Marcus?
Vote Vets has endorsed me. Yes.
If you, do you have any other big endorsements?
Ambassador Andrew Young endorsed.
Yes.
Former Senator Max Cleland endorsed. Our state senator Jen Jordan, who's running for Attorney General for the state of Georgia. She is awesome. You guys look out for her. She's definitely an awesome senator here in Georgia, and she endorsed. We're working on some other endorsements right now that will be coming out soon. So
good.
Excellent.
Everyone will be excited to see those.
It's still early, so
No Dems Left Behind has also endorsed this as well.
Awesome.
Good. Yeah, and it is still early, and people will be.
And the fact that you're already getting endorsements, I personally think that's a good sign.
That's excellent. Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
expecting a lot of endorsements this early, but they're coming in. So it's
there you go.
We appreciate the support. We're definitely humbled by it.
Thank you, Joanna.
Well, speaking of being humbled, we are extremely humbled to have had you on the show. We do hope you'll come back a little farther into the campaign. And and for everybody watching, we have a special link just for us. So for Act Blue. So it's in the description here of the show.
Donate
It'll be on the
to
description
Marcus.
of the podcast. So if you want to donate, you can click on the link in the description, and it'll donate to Marcus's campaign. But it'll also tell him that you heard of him through us. So go ahead and use that link. But the most important part is, even if you don't use that link, go to marcusforgeorgia.com, donate what you can, $1, $5, whatever.
20. Yeah. Tell your friends, send it. When it asks you to share it. And I'm going to be putting it all over my social media platforms and asking people to share it as well. Because in order for Marcus to tour and do the things that he needs to do, he needs money. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is getting campaign money right now, and we need to get him caught up.
Right. So he's a lot richer than me. She can fund a lot of her campaigns. So I can't do that. So I depend on you guys to help us there. You know? So we don't take corporate PAC money. So it's one of those things. And that's just, I'm standing on principle on that one. You know, we need to get dark money out of politics. And I'm sure there's a lot of dark money flowing into Congresswoman Greene's campaign.
No doubt. No doubt at all.
No doubt. A lot of Bitcoin. Did I just say that? Sorry.
No,
you thought it.
But we sincerely appreciate you being on here. You know, and what I want to drive home is, like Marcus just said, we've been talking about it for the last hour. She's traveling. His opponent is traveling around the country raising money with Matt Gaetz in this America First thing. That's why her donation dollars are going to look, you know, excessive in comparison. But Marcus is doing this one donation at a time. So these podcasts, this is his tour.
Grassroots, you know, baby. Let's be a part of it, all of us.
Let's get him some money. Let's get him some influence, and let's get him in Congress. We're going to send Congress flowers. That's what we're going to do.
Oh, can I just say one thing? I had a great idea for a T-shirt for you, Marcus.
Oh,
let's hear it.
If you want to hear it. Okay. So I'm envisioning a tombstone that says, "Herein lies Marjorie Taylor Greene's political career," with a huge bouquet of flowers that says, "Vote Marcus Flowers."
He likes it. He likes it.
We just had a merchandising call today, so we should have been on.
Should have had Nikki on it.
Should have been on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Coming soon in the next month or so. But yeah, that's
okay. Just an idea.
Donated. Catherine says she's going to donate every Friday. You guys are awesome. With that being said, Marcus, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you. You have an invitation to our show anytime. Just let us know.
I appreciate it.
With that, I will leave you with, as always, much love. Keep fighting, and we'll see you guys next week.
Likewise.
Bye,
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.